Hello and welcome to the Right to Be Heard Town Hall. The Indian civil aviation sector is passing through a turbulent air pocket. Who's to blame for the mess in the skies? Joining us on our program today, Union Civil Aviation Minister Ajit Singh. We've got concerned citizens in the audience. We've also got stakeholders in the aviation sector. Thank you very much, Minister, for joining us on the Right to Be Heard program. I want to begin by getting Sriram Khan to ask the first question. So please go ahead.
The Ministry of Civil Aviation is more friendly to business interests than the interests of passengers. What your policies and your attitudes and those of your officials in the civil aviation and DGCA are so friendly with the business interests that they have thrown the interests of passengers before these wolves. They are charging prices which are 3 times, sometimes 1/3, sometimes 3 times. And they can do so without transparency, and they will not even listen to you. You go to the Delhi and Bangalore airports, you cannot buy a cup of coffee less than 100 rupees.
Okay. All airlines have been losing money. You say business friendly and you are saying they are anti-passengers. And our fares are, you look at worldwide, are not more than any other country. It's still less. Yes, the airport charges are high because we have made these world-class airports. And fuel prices are very high here. And fuel costs accounts for about 50% of the operational cost. But still, if you look at the fares and compare with any other country, they are not more. And you have to, if you kill the airlines, what will happen to the sector then?
Why can't you have a price cap? Your officials are talking about price floors. They are not talking about price caps. Why? Because they're saying that airlines should not compete to kill each other. Agreed. But you are not talking about price caps.
And that disadvantages customers.
And एक सेक्टर में 5,000 रुपए का टिकट वही 15 दिन के बाद 30,000 रुपए का क्यों मिल रहा है?
That's how this business works.
No, it's because you are giving them the freedom. Okay. It's not. They can't do this in other parts of the world.
Please, and are you advocating that we should regulate the fares?
No.
Shouldn't there be a fair cap, sir? Shouldn't there be a cap? The maximum that airlines can charge?
Recently, this Competition Commission of India has said that we cannot put lower or upper caps. Please understand, we have to let the competition decides. If you want to go back to those days when the fare was decided, then why even have other airlines? Air India is good enough. Okay. The whole idea is to let the marketplace, let the competition decide fares.
You have taken 3 initiatives, that is deregulating the ATF imports, allowing FDI. I mean, these are good things. But we were under the impression that these benefits will be passed on to the consumer. But instead of the benefits going to the consumer, what has now happened is that the baggage allowance has decreased. Now, international tourists who are coming in from all over the world, the baggage is 20 to 23 kilos. On Emirates, it's 30 kilos. Now, all of a sudden, without any notice, all the airlines form a cartel and increase the baggage allowance to 15 kilos, and the passengers are stranded. There are people who don't have money. They prepaid for this.
You know, most of the airlines in international arena charge you for checking in baggage and for every kilo. Please see what's happening. First you want international type of business and service and everything. Then look what's happening in the world. And Indian passengers, every will tell you, carry much more baggage than passengers anywhere in the world. अगर कहीं 5 दिन के लिए जा रहे हैं तो 10 दिन का सामान और कपड़े लेके चलते हैं. See, this costs more fuel, more baggage, more fuel cost. See, this business is very competitive. The margins are very thin. One more, and only 2 airlines have done it so far. Government has no say on that.
I have a question that I've served Indian Airline, Air India, one of the best airlines in the world at one time. At the time of merger, we were in a loss of 660 crores, both of the airlines. Today we are in a loss of 35,000 crores. Is anybody answerable to these questions? What are the policies of the government to check and control? What I've noticed is, government is good enough, they send bureaucrats to handle the airline. They have no experience. We have professionals. Today the safety standard of Air India, training standard is very bad. I'm grateful to you that you are coming and listening to us. I pray to you, sir, you have one meeting at least in a month with the professionals. We are ready to advise you what's happening, how to improve the airline.
No, but that's an important question you ask. Who's responsible for the mounting losses of the Maharajas?
When that merger decision was taken, at that time it seemed like a good decision. And worldwide, if you see, many mergers have succeeded and many have failed. Problem was, it would have been good or bad, it wasn't even completed. See, only this year, only last year, we have implemented the Dharmadhikari report, which has merged it. Otherwise, merger was just in name. So, now who was to blame? Always, let me put it, you are right, always in any enterprise, if it fails, it's the management.
The way the merger was carried itself was flawed. Do you think they should have thought properly before merging it?
Listen, with the hindsight, you can say that. At that point in time, it seemed like the synergies will combine, the cost will go down, travel agents costs, the all kind of costs.
But sir, the human resources part was not thought about
as
at all.
I myself saying, it didn't work out. And one of the reasons was that they announced the merger, didn't implement it.
No, but who has been held accountable? I think the people of India have the right to know, Minister. Have heads rolled because this is, if it had happened in a private company, the people who took the decision and were in charge at that time would have been held accountable. They would have lost their jobs. Has even one person been held accountable for this fiasco, Minister?
Kingfisher has failed. Who is responsible there or accountable there? Has Mr. Malia lost anything?
Sir, there's a question, yes. Kingfisher is broke, but the promoter is not. Do you plan any legal recourse for that? Probably redeploy the promoter's resources?
As I said, in any enterprise, if it doesn't work, it is the management. I'm already saying that.
Have you held anybody accountable for this fiasco, Minister?
Listen, what we have done is we have taken a lot of measures to take care of the problem. Like the merger problem, we instituted Dharmadhikari report was made and we has implemented it. Also the turnaround plan. In this business, you don't buy a plane, you sell it and lease back. Now they bought a huge number of planes, very large number of planes, which were needed at that time, but that expense and the interest rates here was one of the problems when losses have
So why did they take that decision? Surely, that's what I'm saying. If these wrong decisions have been taken, someone has to be held accountable, Minister.
You have to look at what we are doing. You are all focusing that 6 years ago it didn't work, so have you taken action on anybody? That's what your main question is. Please look what's been happening for last 2 years at least. I've been there, year and a half. What we are doing and how things are going.
Do you think it's a good idea, Minister, for the government to be in the aviation business in the year 2013?
In my view, not only aviation, in service sector, government, it's very difficult for government to work.
No, so
because the attitude of the government employees is different. Here, customer should be king. In case of government servants, they themselves are king. So that service sector is very difficult.
no, so what are you doing to disinvest?
And then again, don't forget, in government service, whether even the airline employee may not be direct government employee, you cannot remove anybody, you cannot take action against anybody. It takes months and 6 months and a year before. See, that's why, look at that Calcutta airport now recently made by, very good airport. But I said when they was being made, I discussed management should be privatized. Because bathroom gets dirty, you can't fire that there for 6 months, that guy. What do you do? While a private company, they will take care of it in a day.
No, so are you,
those constraints are there.
So are you doing anything to change that, Minister? Are you doing anything to disinvest the government stake in Air India?
That the cabinet gave us was to turn around the Air India. And the plan was that it will be turned around by 2018 or so profitable. I think it will become profitable 2015 or 16. In this last fiscal year, EBITDA, they have made 19 crores. Before that, they had lost 2,300 crores, just EBITDA, not profit, I'm saying. In this current financial year, we'll make EBITDA of 1,000 crores. In this business, you have to continuously look at cutting costs. Before everybody, even 20 kilos or 22 kilos, every director will, another 10 kilos you can take. You absolutely banned it for anybody and everybody. You raised the question about DGCA. Problem basically is in 5 years, the number of passengers has gone up twice at least. Number of flights has gone up twice. But the number of employees is same as it was. Because to get those highly specialized technical people at government scales is almost impossible. And then if you go through UPSC, it takes months and months and years before they give clearance. So what we are going to do is make this Civil Aviation Authority financially independent and also operationally independent so that they don't have to do government.
I want to at this time go across to Bangalore. Joining us from there is one of the foremost voices of the Indian aviation sector. Captain Gopinath is joining us on this program. He has some questions for the Minister. Go ahead, Captain Gopinath.
For people to start an airline in India compared to the other countries, I think it is a very big, long license charge still in place. It's very difficult to get the permissions. And the government already has a very prudent guideline for equity norms, very large laid out DGCA rules and regulations for getting a license. If you also abolish that, the no objection certificate to start an airline, because once the government gives a no objection certificate, it takes you 18 months to 1 year to start an airline. If you remove that hurdle, I think, more people can start airlines at whatever level they want. The basic problem is India has just 4 or 5 airlines. Last 7 years, not a single airline has started.
See, in the airline business, safety is a paramount importance. So for DGCA has to check what kind of aircraft, how many pilots, what's their background, which airports they have the spots where they will park and fly from. All those things have to be checked. As you said, any foreigner on the board, because it should be effective Indian control. All those things are happening. And it's very capital intensive business. A lot of people who want to start an airline don't realize that. We have given so many licenses to regional airlines. None of them has started. They come up with 4 or 5. Unless you have very deep pockets, it doesn't work in this business. Because some people, even government officers, I say, why can't you, from Delhi to, you are going to Mangalore, why can't you divert it to some other place? Just like a bus, you sit on a bus, instead of going there, today it will go there. It doesn't work in this business. You need pilots at that place, you need engineers at that place, you need all kind of controls and that airspace and ATC and all that. So it's and then security has become such a problem because of that worldwide terror thing now. Security is becoming more and more important and more costly. So basically, any license we have given to the 80% license for regional airlines, they have not started, or if they started, they give up in a year or 2 years. You just go back, how many airlines have failed in last 20 years? East West, Modi Luft, MDRR, Kingfisher now, Paramount, at least 7, 8, 9 have failed. So therefore, government has to be prudent before they allow anyone to start an airline. And from safety point of view also, you have to be very careful.
Okay, let's take a question from that.
Mr. Minister, Kingfisher crisis is going from so long time. So why are you not ordering inquiry in their accounting practices and money diversion cases so that we can find out why it has happened? People are telling money has been diverted. So we just want to know why inquiry cannot be done.
It's a private enterprise. Some will always fail, some will succeed. You want any company, it's always unfortunate to try, it doesn't fail. But if a company fails, that's what the free enterprise is all about. Some will always fail, some will succeed. Every company which is there now should continue forever. It's
no, but the sense
possible.
in the public is that the government's been very soft on Kingfisher. That you haven't sealed their accounts, you haven't gone after the promoters. Families are suffering and the promoters are partying.
That's exactly what I said when you were saying accountable. That's what I mentioned to you. But the point is what government can do. Government cannot ask banks to give them money. Government cannot ask all airport authorities and all that to not charge for it. So what is government only said that if you give us a viable plan, financially viable, safety point of view, then we'll allow you to restart. Every company fails, what do you want government to do?
No, at least act against promoters, hold people accountable for running an organization to the ground.
There are rules and regulations and laws. Now banks are suing him. He has given personal guarantees, so banks are suing. It has to go through courts.
Okay, let's take the next question. Go on.
Yeah, Minister, as you said, it is difficult to start the airline. That's fine. But it is not difficult to start the MROs, maintenance repair organization.
Oh,
and we have a lot of skilled
much
manpower.
more difficult.
No, we have a lot of skilled manpower available from
True,
Kingfisher,
true.
MDLR, ME schools are there, a lot of engineers are there, and we have proved in IT sectors. So I studied that, and their taxation problem is too much. So we cannot bring the component inside, and after repair, a lot of taxes are going to the government, service tax, VAT. Can you do something on that sector?
This gentleman is right, because most of the planes in India go to Sri Lanka or Dubai or Singapore for repair, because MRO business, as he rightly pointed out, is much less expensive in those places than here. But now, only recently government has taken some steps, and some private MROs, even Hyderabad has come up an MRO. Some private people are coming. From Air India, we are hiving off their engineering service, make it an MRO. And incidentally, you are asking about privatized. That's the first thing I think should be privatized, so they can handle other airlines.
But why
also.
can't you holistically rework, Minister, the taxation structure in the aviation business? It is taxes that force ticket prices up. It is because of the lopsided
Okay, let's
tax.
look at the ATF taxes.
Yes, it costs so much more in India than
some
costs
states
international.
have up to 28-29% tax on ATF. It's state power. I've written to all of them. I've talked to many of them. They are still in many people's mindset. This is a rich man's business, so why subsidize that? That's the question asked. What they are not realizing is today aviation sector is vital for economic growth. Even in a small town, aspiring young businessman, for him time is money. He wants air connectivity. But therefore, the states are not ready to give up
use
that
your good
revenue.
offices to press these states to try and reduce the taxes on
I can
fuel.
meet them, I can discuss with them, I can't force them. Law, constitution gives them that power.
I'm quite fascinated and surprised that everybody is talking about commercialization, whereas the most important aspect, because aviation is a risky business, is operations and flight safety. I did 4 inquiries in 2011, all the 4, and I can tell you that each one was a lesson to be learned. The first one was in Arunachal, where the Chief Minister died in a Eurocopter. I mean, it was amazing as to how the organization of Pawan Hans was functioning at that time without even a flight safety officer, without an operations officer, and it was total indiscipline that they took off, went on a unauthorized route just to save 15 or 20 minutes and killed everybody in the bargain. Now, that is one instance. Pawan Hans, the management today has changed. The present CMD is making a lot of efforts. The Northeast, all the 7 states had banned Pawan Hans at one time. Thanks to the present CMD, it's all been reversed.
What's your question?
But notwithstanding that, there are another 3 accidents that took place. So the question is, how much effort is going in terms of operations and flight safety? For instance, the kind of pilot training that we have today, the kind of youngsters that we are training, is the training right? There have been so many accidents where they have to revert to manual flying. Technology is taking its own impact. There is no answers for that. The kind of youngsters that are being given the opportunity to fly.
Your neighbor is a former DGCA.
So therefore,
he understands the
I
problem
don't know,
very well.
I've
You are
been
right,
dealing with him.
especially in general aviation. Again, DGCA doesn't have sufficient manpower to monitor all the private airlines also.
That's very scary, sir. That's very, very scary.
No. Still, look at our safety record. You compare with any country in the world. We are second to none. Please don't go by that. There are problems. We have less number of people. तो हमारा तो देश ही राम भरोसे चलता है.
Today, your executive arms, like for instance DGCA, Airports Authority, they cannot control everything. There must be participation from the commercial airlines. They should be more responsible for flight safety because they know their pilots, they know their training, they know their capability. DGCA can be a facilitator. DGCA cannot be a monitor.
Let me point out one thing where our DGCA will confirm. Because DGCA doesn't have financial autonomy. For examiners, they take pilots from airlines. Now the pilot himself checking the other pilot from the same airline, there are always some problems with that. So that's why we are making this aviation authority financially independent, so they can hire more examiners, pay them what they need, and not just what the government allows. So all kind of things basically. And also let me point out, we are talking about DGCA has doesn't enough people. Recently USA, because of their budget problems, have cut it down so badly that every airline executive there and all the people who come here are complaining that it's better here. There the number has drastically cut.
Well, recently Jet Etihad deal happened, and after that it coincided with giving 37,000 seats to Arabian carriers. There were questions raised about this deal, and people went to the extent that this giving of seats was done to facilitate this deal only. And they went up to the extent of saying that Ministry of Civil Aviation has become Ministry of Jet Airways. So what do you have to say on that?
See, if you remember some time back when Kingfisher was under crisis and we were trying to make FDI policy, everybody said we are doing it for Kingfisher, all the press and everything. Jet at that time opposed that policy. Now everybody is saying we are doing it for Jet. Anyway, the point is that we have made an FDI policy, and there were three reasons basically for it. One was we gained the management expertise of this business. It's a very technical and very difficult business. We get reach because of those other airlines who participate in this FDI. So under that policy, this thing was done. Now, Etihad has asked us in January to increase the seats. And then in April, they asked to increase the seats again to 40,000 additional seats. Recently, we did this with Oman and Singapore also. And earlier, if I go back to Etihad, Emirates, we gave 54,000 seats. Everybody talks about this. You know what is happening? Lufthansa, they have 74, we are bilateral, 74 flights. They are using 47, we are using only 7. So therefore, it is over.
But the timing is suspect,
over more than 3.
The fact that the bilaterals are granted at the same time when Mr. Goyal does this deal, people ask whether you are trying to help Jet out.
See, first listen that in April 16th, Etihad asked us that when do we start bilaterals. But the Joint Secretary who goes and discusses this thing was away. We said he's back here next week, you give us the date. So they gave us the date. And we went on that day. Now, Jet and Etihad have been talking for last 8 months. They are not talking just when we started this thing. They have been talking for 8 months. They had many other problems. So therefore, just if the only accusation is that it happened at the same time, I don't think you have to come up with something better than that.
10 years ago, being associated with the aviation industry was a matter of prestige. Every second or third girl wanted to be an air hostess. But now things have changed. Youngsters don't want to join the industry.
Young men also, not just girls.
So how do you think that the industry has lost respect?
See, what happened, you are right. What happened around 2005 to 2007, not 10 years later, every young man and girl thought they could be pilot or cabin crew. It was very glamorous life, travel around the world, and the pay was also very good. I know a lot of young people from countryside sold their land and went abroad and got a license. But that license doesn't do anything. You still need to be trained on a particular aircraft by the airline. So therefore, a lot of people, we have many thousands of young people who became, because as you said, everybody thought there was a tremendous change also. But if today's situation, Kingfisher pilots are available, they are all trained. So it's very difficult to get a new guy in. The number of people who wanted to join this business was too much. And the airlines, you were talking about airlines making money. Airlines are not even paying the pilots they have and the cabin crew. How about hiring new one? Everybody is trying to use the equipment more so that they don't have to hire. So that problem exists, you are right. But at that point it seems that's the way to go.
This is Kingfisher Airlines question, respected Prime Minister, Aviation Minister sir. If you are aware of the plight for the last 1.5 years, we are suffering all the employees regarding the salary issue. If it is unheard to you and all the UPA government or the recent government, Congress government of India, can I address like this, that Vijay Mallya is Dhutarashtra or Dr. Bijamalia is Dhritarashtra and you are behaving like a Bhishma Pitamaha, sir. Any reply from your side? Thank you.
Again, I'll say any business, some businesses will fail, and if it fails, the employees and the bankers and the customers, they all suffer to some extent. But what do you want government to do? Tell me. See, Kingfisher hasn't made money in a single quarter since they started. And for
the international scenario, sir.
listen, and for a long time, all the observers and newspapers and us knew that Kingfisher is in big trouble and will not survive. Let me put it that way. You still continued there. I mean, a lot of people left. Some people continued. But we cannot ask people to whether leave or continue there and then ask a bankrupt company to pay the employees who are still there. Under what law? If there is a law, you would have gone to the court already.
We were not paid.
See,
now,
if we had, say, Air India pilots were not paid for about a year. Now they are paid every month. If we had acted before, everybody would have said, wow, this is going concern. What, should we have closed it down? We can't ask them how you pay it. It's up to the company.
that time you have...
We didn't negotiate or discuss anything with the management.
No, we were discussing, sir.
You were discussing, yes.
People first told that you cannot pay a salary, you cannot make the company to pay a salary. When we struck work and management came to the table and they were discussing with us, that time company was non-operational and that time you have suspended AOP. That too when company was non-operational. Then
they paid you. Then they paid you.
They paid us 3 months.
And everybody knows why they paid it. Because there was that race car function in Aligarh. And he had to come here and he didn't want you to demonstrate against him. So again, how can we tell him to pay or not? Why would we not want employees to be paid? See, why would we want to be? But it's not in our hands.
Foreign countries, he was paying till date, Singapore and others. When we take example of foreign countries, like you were telling fares, our fares are lower than foreign countries. Then why don't we compare this scenario when they are better than us? Then why don't we make laws that he is forced to pay? We cannot simply say, no, there is no law. Why people don't make laws?
Many companies have failed abroad also. Please, in this business, you look at USA, Pan Am, TWA, there is endless list of companies which have failed.
So everyone knows that wrong decisions has been taken for Air India, and from bottom to top in the aviation industry, either it's an engineer or a cabin crew, everyone knows that former Minister Praful Patel is responsible for the wrong decisions. Why the government is not setting up a committee and to check the issues that what decisions have been taken, and like in Commonwealth Games there a scam came and Kalmadi was caught for that. So why, I think I should personally call this as, don't you think I should call it as a scam, and a committee should be set up against Praful Patel and inquiry should...
See, government can only act if there is some complaint which we send it to CVC or we send it to CBI, then they examine and give a report. Now in this case what you are saying is that CG report is there, which is PAC looking at it, then they will present it to the parliament. Also there are many cases in courts. What you are complaining, cases are already there in courts about that.
But no action.
So we cannot act before the PAC completes the CAG, looks at the CAG report.
No, but it's very convenient that ministers change and then accountability ends, because you can just say that the decision to merge Air India, Indian Airlines was not yours. Yes,
no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said at that time it looked like a good deal.
People are talking about Kingfisher and all that, and I agree with them. I know a lot of pilots from whose salaries tax was deducted at source, provident fund money was there.
So
he has not paid the money.
For that.
Why he was not arrested? He should have been. Government has all the. If I don't pay, sir, they will arrest me tomorrow. They will raid my house.
Income tax department is prosecuting. It's already in the court. So they have to go to the court. What can they do?
Sir, you have mentioned about the connectivity to some of the remote areas, Tier 2, Tier 3. Coming from the northeast myself, there are so much structures are there for the airports to be developed. What are your plans for this, sir?
You're right. Our focus in the ministry now is the connectivity. So what we have decided is that all these small cities where we have airports, and we have to build airports as many other cities also. We will abolish the landing charges, navigation charges, security charges, all taxes, EPF, airport, and we will not charge. Some papers have written that 50 rupees for each passenger. No way. I said we will not put any burden on the passengers. Airport authority will pay for all these facilities. And we expect once this policy is made, we already talked to some airline. This will reduce their cost by about 10% for these smaller places. They said that will make it viable for them to fly there. And don't forget, airport authority can do it. Because airport authority in this financial year, just from Mumbai and Delhi airport, will get 3,000 crores because we have privatized that and they get a share of the income. So with that money, they can run these airports almost without any additional cost to the airlines.
I run a flying training institute. Today we have a situation there. You have also spoken about the ATF and the tax on ATF. Nobody even talks about 100 LL, which is the petrol used for the training aircraft. The tax on that is as high as 28-29%. We are literally forcing our children, because it becomes unviable. That's your major input cost. We're forcing our children to go abroad to get training from these places. The second issue which I wanted to ask you on was that do we have a policy on training?
We are setting up an aviation university, and which will monitor all these institutes and everything. That's the policy. They will decide. Instead of right now, DGCA does all that work, and there are a lot of complaints about that. So we will set up a university, curriculum, fees, setting up more institutes will come under that.
Okay.
And we are going to lay the foundation stone within next 2 months or so.
Okay.
As the Union Civil Aviation Minister, you are the custodian of the national carrier. But be the decision on bilaterals, FDI, foreign airlines in this country, all were opposed by the employees of this airline. My question is, why is there no synergy within the airline? So much of discontent. The All India Cabin Crew Association has shot a letter to the management and the DGCA threatening they will file an FIR against the management in the DGCA because the contract crew which is on board has no training at all. If I may give you an example, last year on the Toronto-Delhi flight, the oven door burst open because the contract crew had no training for it. What's happening within the airline? You're talking about safety in the right direction, but if things were rolling in the right direction, why is there no synergy?
Anytime this thing happens, it's investigated and we take a corrective action. Unfortunately, in many areas, union think their job is just to get more facilities for their members. They are supposed to negotiate with management and then see that things are done. So your union should be active on that.
The IATA 2012 report says that within the next few years, India would become the third largest aviation country in the world. You can also take one or two other historic steps. Why don't you set up a long-term, transparent aviation policy for the country?
Aviation Authority of India, we have sent it to the cabinet. We are planning to get navigation as a separate corporation, that is in the works. Bilateral policy, when I changed it, that every airline will be given the rights. We recently, cabinet has approved the hub policy. All these things are taking place.
I know. That's why I'm talking about the future. My only submission, sir, is that if the government, and I'm not talking about the aviation ministry, if the government can fix the rate, a higher limit rate, for a taxi from airport to the hotel, I'm not saying that you completely regulate the whole issue. What I'm saying is Delhi-Bombay, if the direct operating cost of an airline is, let us say, 5,000 rupees, you give them an upper limit of 10,000 rupees, double it. But it cannot be exploitation.
See, you are right. See, although the law gives a ministry to regulate fares, according to 1934 Aircraft Act, we are empowered, but we are not going to regulate it. But we are planning for quite some time, but it's been taking time to set up a economic cell, which will not regulate, but just monitor. Every fare we want to capture the data by a computer that analyze it and then present to public that this airline is charging that much fare, that many buckets of fare, so many high price, so many low, and then let public decide. So that is in the works.
Yes, we have talked about the past, we have talked about the present, what the problems are. But what is the government doing, or as a civil aviation minister, what is your plan of creating the jobs for
today's youngsters. Whatever has happened in the past has happened in the past. What will happen in the future, that can be changed today, right?
See,
So
every business is driven by the customers. More
Exactly.
passengers,
So
there'll
we
be
are
more
talking
airlines,
about
more airlines, more planes, and as Mr. Goel said, that will be third largest. I may mention that both Airbus and Boeing, because they are the only manufacturers
Right.
really for big planes, say India and China will buy the highest number of planes.
say that India would be the
So
third
we
largest
don't-
buyer.
So we have to make sure that passengers keep growing and we get enough planes, then all these things will take place.
Consumer organizations like Consumer Voice, whom I am representing, have been looking at complaints from all kinds of passengers. All airlines, including Air India, and private airlines and foreign airlines. When passengers complain to the airlines about bad service, about deficiency in service, about exploitation, about unfair trade practices, nobody listens.
To
And
cut
you're
time,
all
can I answer? We are looking at creating an ombudsman. So where the customers or passengers
So can you tell
complain.
us when will this happen? Before your term runs out, will you be able to do it?
See, in government never asks when. Okay, nobody knows. So many committees you have to go through, so many inter-ministerial groups you have to consult,
But
and
आपके
you
मन में
take
कोई
it to
तारीख तो होगी?
cabinet and all that. But
आपके
we
मन
have
में कोई
every
तारीख तो
intention
होगी?
of doing it.
No, but you must commit to a time frame.
And
The
I
government-
can even commit to my time frame because I don't know when elections will take place.
But sir, I do hope before you have to limit office, you can create ombudsman. That is one question. Second question is, हमें ऐसा लगता है,
Next month somebody has made a policy framework. We have called a meeting. They will give us the presentation. Then we'll put it on the website and ask for all your comments.
Okay, Captain Gopinath wants to ask
Sir,
a
I
question.
just take one more question. About the future, it's our belief, आप कुछ भी रेगुलेशन कर लें, पॉलिसी बना लें, अल्टीमेटली कंज्यूमर को प्रोटेक्शन मिलेगी कंपटीशन से. जितने ज्यादा एयरलाइंस होंगे एक दूसरे से कम्पीट करेंगे, उतनी बढ़िया सर्विस होगी, उतना कम किराया होगा. So are you taking some positive steps to bring new airlines into the field? अब एयर एशिया आना चाह रही है और पहले इसको भगाया है, अब वो वापस आ रही है. तो इस तरह क्या नए और एयरलाइंस को इनकरेज करने के लिए कुछ आप कर रहे हैं?
See, what we have done is, as mentioned Mr. Gopinath, we have abolished the aircraft acquisition committee. It's for the businessmen to decide how many planes they want to get. Airlines also, Air Asia is coming. Etihad has invested in jet. Other airlines are also talking to some foreign airlines. But setting up a new airline and all that, it's up to the entrepreneurs.
The open skies policy actually generated all these problems that is coming up today. In other words, you went for getting
In other
so
words,
much...
we should have allowed Maharaja to continue and that's it.
No, not that way. What happened was that you jumped the gun, I mean not you, your predecessors maybe, without creating the necessary infrastructure, without getting the necessary training for pilots, and going, sky high, and as there's a gap between the requirement and safety. Now, what happens is that you're going to suffer in the future. Like for instance, you just said, Goen, about getting new airports, getting new airfields, flexi airspace. I have been the boss of the Western Air Command. I know from Bombay, Mumbai to Bangalore, you got to go 120 kilometers route, which means you're going to save money. How are you going to save money?
Yes, we have already, it has been considered by cabinet. We have approved a committee. Which will have Civil Aviation Secretary, Air Force, Defense, because you are right, air space has to be shared.
Very important.
So we have already set up a committee and they have been empowered and they will, and that will cut the flight time, that will cut the ATF cost and everything.
Okay, so we're completely out of time on the program. To all our guests for having joined us on the Right to Be Heard Town Hall, and also to the Minister for coming and answering all the burning questions. Thank you so much for joining us on the Right to Be Heard Town Hall. We'll be back next week at the same time. Till then, the news and updates, continue watching Headlines. Thanks for tuning in.